My name's Adam Manaka and I'm the Financial Controller for Hi-Tech Oils. With our national capacity, we can now service Australian companies nationwide. Of late, we have now expanded into the New Zealand market. Here at Hi-Tech Oils, we receive premium base oils and premium additive packs. Together, with our highly trained staff, we manufacture over 500 premium quality products. Hi-Tech Oils is Australian made and Australian owned.
Hi and welcome to the show, and here we are, round number 1 of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships for Hi-Tech Oils. We're here in beautiful Mackay in Queensland. A new season, some new teams and some new regulations. Going to be very, very exciting, and we're going to see some close racing. We have a new 750 horsepower formula with these boats all being very, very close in terms of the build and the speeds that they'll be achieving. We spoke to some of the competitors about the change and the new regulations.
It gets down to the fact we've all got the same cubic inch, we've all got the same RPM limits. We all run a Bowser fuel, which is basically the 98 octane. Boats all pretty well have to weigh the same. I think the wider tunnel boats, which there's probably the majority of, have to return to base at a 4,400 kg limit. A little bit narrower tunnel, it's 100 kgs less. So yeah, it puts everybody in the same basket to a point. There's not a lot of fiddling going on and stuff like that, but you still have to race hard and boats will be different.
It's one way of really standardising a class that's, you know, both here and in the USA. So the USA is the biggest manufacturer in the world for the types of boats we race. So, you know, it gives a lot of opportunity for anyone here looking to get into the sport to get a boat out of the US and bring it here, or vice versa. We build, Maritimo, we build our own race boats. So for anyone in the US that's looking for a Maritimo hull, you know, we can send one of ours over there. So that's going to be one good side of it. The others, obviously, we've all gone to one engine package this year. It's a very affordable engine package, and but there's going to be a lot of parity between the teams as well, so I think you'll see some of the closest racing that we've seen in many years.
Very happy to be back in Australia racing. We've been racing overseas now for about 3 years, and Tom Barry-Cotter talked me into coming back, so we're very happy to be back, and it's been a great experience for the team. As you know, we've sort of extended around the globe these days, but we still have the whole team backing us here in Australia. It's a Maritimo 44. We're running the twin 750s here in the Superboat category. It's an excellent boat. You know, Maritimo put together a great package for us. We're running under their banner this year, so they're our support, engineering and technical advice support team. Look, we're very happy. We had 4 laps in it for the first time yesterday and got pole 2, and I've got an excellent guy next to me, Carl Wall, very, very experienced and knows a lot about the setup, and I'm just following him.
Originally it was a 2008 Doug Wright, so basically what we did is we respec'd the boats with 2016 Doug Wright, which means the tunnel is now 200 millimetres wider. The cockpit's been shifted back in the boat 3 feet. We've also dropped the nose or the pickle forks of the boat by 50 millimetres, and we've also brought the central wing forward a foot, and we've also cut half a foot out of the transom and added a ducktail for lift.
Well, probably in the smooth water we'll beat them, you know, we should be quicker than them. But in this water here, Mackay, well, just the chop and the swell, well, they got an advantage on it, but anyway, we just got to cop that and see how we go, you know, should be right.
with the new rules and new drivers coming into the pole position shootout, this was always going to be very, very interesting. In the Supercat outboard category, the SUV Simrad with father-daughter combination, Con and Tay Selamitis, pushed very, very hard with the Evinrude E-Tech. They came into third place with a 93 km/h lap average. Into second place, the very, very fast Phantom Machine with Mick Walker and Ian Harris on board. This little boat with the big 3.2 litre stroke and Mercury engines on the back set a cracking pace to come into second place. And old runners, but back for the series with a completely modified boat, Simon Isherwood and Brent Price with a speed of 102.7 km/h lap average. They took pole in the Supercat outboard category. Into third in the Supercat Extreme was Maritimo Australia, 122.67 km/h lap average. Quite lumpy conditions as well. Up into P2 was the brand new Team Australia machine. Carl Wall and Brett Lerman on board this beautifully prepared Maritimo hull. They popped up into second spot. Great effort for the first time out for those. Then it was the local boys, the Mega Bulk Fuels, into first place. Brendan and Chris Pryor, the young guns. They've been running around for plenty of time now, and 126 km/h lap average saw them on top of the table. So with round number one up and about, we saw very, very tight racing in the shootout. So we know that we're going to see some fantastic racing here in race number one. Good lineup. It's a really short run up to the start area and the start line and the drop of the flag here in Mackay. We've got slightly smoother conditions here today than we did in the pole position shootout, and as the flag drops, we are away. 222 on the outside, and you can see it is really tight. Tom Barry Cotter and Stevie Jellick in the Maritimo, and you can see how tight they are there to Peter Muddy McGrath and Darren Nicholson in the 222. They're on their starboard side, and you see someone running hard on the inside there as well. That's in fact going on board now with Tom Barry Cotter and Steve Jellick. All these guys now will be absolutely sussing each other out, because the first corner is going to be absolutely wild. You can see Wall and Lerman there into turn number one in the Team Australia boat, and Barry Cotter and Stevie Jellick. You can see Tom Barry Cotter on the wheel there, just really sliding that boat and actually having to correct a big power slide there. But out into the front in the first race were the Fryer boys, and they are now pushing very, very hard indeed as they come along. The Mega Bulk Fuels entry, new livery and a new sponsor for these guys here this year. That boat, the only boat that's actually running a tunnel flap in that particular craft. You can see the hole in the front of the deck and actually has a wing on board. New team here. These guys did really well in the shootout, and now they're pushing very, very hard in race number one. They're running up into third spot at the moment. Carl Wall and Brent Lerman doing it for Lockie out there at the moment, doing a great job. The 222 running solid at the moment. Tom Barry Cotter and Steve Jellick. These guys in the Maritimo number 12 machine. Oh, just copying a bit of a... Oh, in fact, have a look at this. Well, they need the windscreen wipers on there at the moment as they cop a big hose off there from the Fryer boys, the local boys in the Mega Bulk Fuels entry. The boys will be pushing very, very hard. They're in front of the home crowd, and they want to do well here. This is going to be really interesting. You can see already on this lap number one that there's plenty of parity amongst all these boats. They're running this 750 to 780 horsepower package now, and all the engines virtually identical. We've got the guys, we've got two engine builders basically in the category at the moment, so it's a real battle of the engine builders and of the teams. But it of course also comes down to setup. Barry Cotter and Steve Jellick, they're really trying everything here. They're all over the back of the Fryer boys at the moment, the Mega Bulk Fuels. You can see they're really just throwing that boat even into the rooster tail with absolute gay abandon at the moment. And Team Australia and the 222, they're having a nice little dice as well just out the back of this arrangement at the moment. Lerman and Wall, you go on board there with these guys. This is amazing from them. They've had a really good shootout in the pole position shootout at the prior round, and now they're running side by side with long-time competitors Peter Muddy McGrath and Darryl Nicholson. Have a look at the pace on the 222 though. It looks like it might be geared up just a little bit and making a bit of ground on the Team Australia boat. So it's going to be interesting to watch them tip down into this port turn at the bottom end of this Mackay course. And have a look at that. Team Australia looks like it's geared a little bit lower. It actually pokes its nose into the lead. 222 run the tight line, and so they run a slightly shorter course. So now we go on board with Lerman and Wall. So this is an absolute ding-dong battle going on here between these guys at the moment with the Team Australia and the Triple Two. And both these boats looking absolutely beautiful. The Newcastle-sponsored Triple Two in its brand new livery, and of course the Team Australia boat, which was a former Mustang boat out of the Maritimo stables. We go on board now again with Lerman and Wall. Let's have a listen to this thing as it pushes away. 600 horsepower category, or the Supercat Outboard category as we now call it, and this is a gunnel-to-gunnel battle between two very different boats. We've got the Doug Wright designed and built Mancini Cosmetics with Simon Isherwood and Brent Price on board there, and they're running against Mick Walker and Ian Harris, this little rocket ship. Massive differences between those two boats. We'll talk about that a little later on, but we go on board again now with the Triple Two as we track with these guys. Peter Muddy McGrath, probably the most experienced campaigner out there at the moment, and now we go back to this unbelievable battle. In fact, we've seen the Mancini go from the outside to the inside. So Isherwood and Price now done the old double switchback on the Team Phantom. The Mancini boat, probably not quite as fast in a straight line. It's a bigger boat, but you can see that it eats up the bumps a little bit better than the small Phantom, the little shifty catamaran. It's running the 3.2 litre Mercury strokers on the back of that boat, whereas the Mancini boat, slightly smaller, but the high performance 2.5 litre engines on the transom of that boat. So very, very different arrangements, although competing in the same class, and it's really going to come down to conditions and driver skill here as Isherwood and Price tip the beautiful 29 Mancini machine in, and have a look at that, sneaking up the inside. So this is amazing stuff there. Mick Walker and Ian Harris, they have done the switchback back to the Mancini guys, and it is an absolute ding-dong going on here at the moment, out here at round number 1 for the High-Tech Oils Australian Offshore Superboat Championships here at Mackay. We go back to the head of the pack now, and we go on board with the Fryer boys, and they are being absolutely harassed now by Tom Barry Cotter and Stevie Jellick on the outside of them at the moment. And look how close and tight this racing is. There's absolutely nothing in this as they accelerate away. Who's got the better gearing? Who's got the top end? This is an amazing battle at the moment between these guys. Back on board now with the Phantom, Mick Walker and Ian Harris, and this is another enthralling battle at this first round of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships, brought to you by High-Tech Oils. The 29, the Mancini machine, not quite the top end, but bridging the gaps as we spoke about a little bit more. So it's just real cat and mouse stuff. Maritimo 11, they've had a little bit of trouble with the handling in this boat. That's the two Willerton boys, father-son combination of Ross and Andrew. But this is where all the action's at the moment. Mega Bulk, oh, they've hit! They've come together. So the Mega Bulk Fuels looks like a little bit wide in that corner, and the Maritimo takes a little bit of a punch. So there is absolutely no quarter given between these guys at the moment. This is desperate racing. This is sheep station stuff at the moment. Phantom now on board with this particular boat, Mickey Walker and Ian Harris, and they look like they've made a little bit of a break now on the Mancini. The conditions probably suiting this boat maybe just a little bit better at the moment here at Mackay as they fire away down the front straight away. Super quick little 25-footer, and Walker and Harris, they are really enjoying the racing here at the moment. This particular boat doesn't do so well in the rough. Oh, look at this as we go back on board with a replay now for Mega Bulk Fuels and High-Tech Oils, and you can see the hit there. It looks as though just coming together. And then from the Maritimo, let's have a look at it this way. Oh, looks like maybe the Fryers came out a little bit there. Really hard to tell from that angle. I'm not one of the judges on the course, but now we go on board. Let's have a look. So they are very, very tight, and just a little jump and bang. But the boys, they don't back out of that at all. They're quite happy to trade paint in this round number 1 of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships. Brendan and Chris Fryer, have a look at this now. The old double switchback's been done on them by the Maritimo machine. So now they're having a bit of a look at the inside. So plenty going on, and there's plenty of bark coming off these boats at the moment. Oh, look how tight it is. These guys are absolutely racing for sheep stations at the moment. There are no quarters given. This is what offshore powerboat racing is all about. back straight away now, and you can see that the Maritimo have now got to the inside, and this is where lap traffic becomes an issue for these guys as they round up the 88 Gold Coast City Marina with Michael and Griff Ethel. You can see Michael and Griff there on the outside of this Maritimo racing that we're on board with Tom Barry Cotter. Oh, look at the sun glare, look at the spray. This is amazing as they try and tip the boat in, and whoa, oh, geez, I don't know what went on there. They've absolutely, I think they might have even touched again. This is unbelievable racing. Look at the spray coming over the screen of the Maritimo. So, Tom Barry Cotter and Stevie Jellick, just absolute desperate racing here at the moment against the Fryer boys. The crowd is absolutely on its feet. As racing continues on, we'll come to a break. We'll be back with more action in just a moment. Welcome back to the High-Tech Oils Australian Offshore Superboat Championships round number 1 here at Mackay. And a massive thank you to Damien Muscat of Crane Logistics, the man that gets all of these boats in and out of the water in one piece. As we track now with the Mancini Cosmetics, Brent Price and Simon Ishwood. They're running into second spot, but now we move over to the boat that's running in fourth spot in the Supercat Outboard category, and this is the formidable father and daughter combination of Con and Tay Salamitis in the SUV Simrad machine. This is a 32-foot blade powerboat, and everything looks pretty relaxed in the Simrad machine at the moment. We've got Big Con, he's on the throttles here, so as you can see, the right hand on the throttles, and Tay, of course, piloting the boat and steering the boat. On board now, tracking with the Mega Bulk Fuels, Brendan and Chris Fryer, the Young Guns. These guys have had all sorts of things going on. They've had 2 comings together with Maritimo, and it is really tough stuff and hard racing now. We now go on board with them as they sneak up the inside of Mancini. Oh, this is tight. This is very tight. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if there was almost a touch there. So not even running in the same category though, but these boys just trying to sneak up the inside, so they're running as hard as they can and trying to get up the inside of these slower category boats so that they can run the shortest course around this particular track. So the Fry boys, they give a little wave. I wouldn't be surprised if there was maybe a little touch there, but everyone continues on their merry way at the moment. Father-son combination here of Michael and Griff Ethel, and this is one of the most beautifully prepared 600 horsepower or Supercat outboard category boats running in the class at the moment. It's a 25-foot shifty catamaran, and it's running the 2.5 litre Mercury racing engines. They're running in third spot at the moment as they just get gobbled up by the mighty Team Australia. They run a little bit wide. We go on board now with Maritimo Racing, Tom Barry Cotter and Stevie Jellick. They have had an absolutely harrowing race at the moment, and you can just see out the back of them is the Fryer boys. So they have another dip. This is just real dogfight stuff at the moment, and this lap traffic coming into play as well. So the Phantom, that's our lead boat in the Supercat outboard category. Mick Walker and Ian Harris, they're pushing very, very hard. They're in front of the Mancini, and they'll be pretty excited about that now. All these guys racing for their own race, but they have to be wary of other boats in other categories going around the course. This is the thing about offshore powerboat racing. A little bit like Bathurst used to be back in the day when you had multiple different categories. What's going on here? This looks like a slowing Mega Bulk Fuels. Brendan and Chris Fryer, the Young Guns and the local heroes. Oh, I hope there's not a serious problem here. As I said, we've had 2 comings together. I wonder if something's got damaged in one of those. The Maritimo looks like it continues on its merry way. And I tell you what, Tom Barry Cotter and Steve Jellick in the Maritimo 12, they'll breathe a bit of a sigh of relief as the Fryer boys go out the back door. So let's just go on board now with the team number 12, the Maritimo 12, Tom Barry Cotter and Steve Jellick. And you just can see in the background there, no sign of the Mega Bulk Fuels. So, and in fact, we pick them up out the back there. The Mega Bulk Fuels stopped in the bottom turn. So that is absolutely devastating for Brendan and Chris Fryer. They came here as the local heroes and the Young Guns, and they wanted to get the job done, but it doesn't look like it's going to be their race number 1. They might have to wait until race number 2. Lerman and Wall now, that bumps them up the order into position number 3 at the moment, with the 222 running in second spot. So the Mega Fuels now idling back. We might have a bit of a listen here and see what we can hear from the boys. So not much talking at all going on there as Brendan and Chris both climb out of the cockpit, and they didn't look terribly happy either. So I wonder what the issue is there. We'll try and find out for you, and we'll let you know as soon as we do. Maritimo now, that has left the door open for them a little bit. They could probably afford to lift the pace just a little bit. The problem they've got though is they've still got an angry pack snapping up behind them. You can see how hard and close they're running into the turn, boys there. They're absolutely just trying to run the shortest track possible here at Mackay. Conditions for these boats quite smooth at the moment. You can see the rooster tail coming up off the Maritimo boat. That's acceleration. That's the boys trying to get the power down, trimming the boat up, getting the propellers to break free, and then once the speed catches up with the propellers, they trim the boat back down. Air chokes up down the tunnels. Same scenario. You can see there with the 222, Darren Nicholson and Peter Muddy McGrath trying to get the acceleration out of this boat. Here we go. We go on board with these guys at the moment. They haven't been overly happy with the boat all last season in terms of its handling, so we're really hoping that these guys can get this boat right up and about this season. They've had 12 months of the off-season to work on the boat and get it ready. They've done a lot of work to this boat, and it looks like it's performing pretty well. Still not quite up with the Maritimo 12, but I tell you what, it's got plenty of pace, and at the moment reliability looks good. As the race time starts to wind down a little bit in this round number 1 of the High-Tech Oils Australian Offshore Superboat Championships. We're on board with Con and Tay Salamitis. They're doing a good job. Walker and Harry. Oh, look at that. Oh, a bit of a hook there for the Phantom. They're out in front. I don't know how much ground they'll lose there. The boat just dragged its front port sponson in, and great job to gather that boat back together again. That could have turned quite nasty with the Phantom going right up onto its starboard side, but they get going again. They're up and about. Now back to the replay for High-Tech Oils. Just having a look at Chris Fryer there and the way he's operating that steering wheel. He's steering quite hard to the right, and the boat's still not. I think they've got a steering issue in that boat. Let's have a look now at this half a little spin and a hook here from the Phantom. Oh, you can see it just bites that sponson in, throws the boat round hard. Didn't look like a lot from that view, but you can see the boat went right up on its side, and that was a great job there from Mickey Walker and Ian Harris to gather that boat back together and not tip it over. So down the back chute now, race time ticking away. The SUV Simrad on the inside and the 222. This is where they need to be careful. Coming up on a little bit of lap traffic now. So McGrath and Nicholson down around the outside of the Simrad, and you see it gets quite tight in here. And Simrad's gone over! They've gone over! They've barrel rolled in the corner, and on board now you can see Con and Tay Salamitis. Oh, that's devastating for them. Let's hope they're okay. They look like they might be all right. Boat's upside down. Cockpit looks like it's not letting too much water in. You can see this boat has a hatch in the tunnel. They look like they're both all right. Let's just have a little bit of a listen to what's going on in here.
Jump out, Dale. You go first, Dale. Okay? Yeah.
So, Dad doing the right thing, saying to his daughter, you get out first, Dale. And Tay Salamitis gets up onto the tunnel of the boat. They're okay, but what a devastating way, and you can see the Hog's Breath start boat just coming through with the red flag up. Let's go to the replay. You see Tay Salamitis, she's having a pretty good look at the 222 on their outside, and bang, over they go, as quick as that. And, well, they take the belts off, and it's probably the most dangerous bit. You take the belts off and you land on your head. So let's have a look at this again around the boat. Just catches a sponson, and it just tips itself over. And you can see the cowlings off those E-Tech Evinrude engines just sprayed all over the race course. Fortunately, they are both okay, and the boat looks like it's floating quite nicely upside down. So you can see that Con and Tay both waving there. So that's great news, and it just proof that the safety systems in these offshore superboats are very, very reliable. They are very, very safe things. And unfortunately, though, and have a look at the damage on the front of the Maritimo 12. So there's been plenty going on, and obviously with a red flag situation, that race has been called. So winners are grinners, and in first place in Supercat Extreme was Maritimo 12, into second place the 222 Offshore, and into third in Supercat Extreme Team Australia 2, and in the Supercat Outboard in first place Phantom back to Mancini Cosmetics, and in third place the Gold Coast City Marina.
The boat's it's going really good. We've still got some teething things to do with it. You know, it's a brand new engine package for us, so the boat just feels a dream to drive. It's handling in the corners. Like in the first race, we'll really be able to throw it in the corners. You know, we'd had a little bit less extra speed out of the corners than some of the other boats, but you know, we'll get all that sorted for the next race, and we should be really competitive for Bowen.
Everything stayed together. We got round the track in pretty good shape, so no, we were happy. As you say, everything's new motors in for this weekend, and they got run in. Their life started at full noise, so they're really happy.
We're running against seasoned players that know their boats, know how they run, know all the different waters, how she's going to react, and for us, it's just got to see what she does. And I think we mastered it reasonably well today. I think we're, in that race, it was just fantastic. For a third place, we're over the moon.
The water suited us today out there the first race, and we sort of didn't know where we could catch Mancini, but anyway, a couple of corners we went all right, and anyway we stayed there and see what happened. So we won the race, and I think we're going to put some bit more weight in the race because it's going to be rough and it'll be hard to beat that number 2. But anyway, we'll see what happens. We'll get out there and give it a go, and hey, a race is a race.
We were definitely caught out a little bit with propeller choice with the first race, and with the wind starting to pick up now, I think that the weather conditions will actually come back to our propeller choice, so we're actually not going to make a change. We actually anticipated it to be a little bit rougher than it was, following on from the conditions from yesterday's pole position.
Good first race for us. Conditions were finally good in Mackay. Able to get out there and have a good run. Nearly were able to get in touch with the bigger boys, but unfortunately couldn't quite get it, but we're happy with third. So nice fast boats. Mancine's back on the scene. They're always a nice fast competitive team, and the Phantom was just off the planet today, but we didn't quite have enough to catch up to them. And further had a couple of moments, but we luckily didn't have one, so we're happy.
Well, these boats need to get in and out of the water safely, and Damien Muscat has donated his time and his crane to do exactly that. He does a great job. We caught up with him.
They're parked nice and close together in the pit area, so we've got to be reasonably smooth to lift them in and out. And as you pull them out of the water, they got a bit of suction onto the water. So yeah, easy does it. These guys don't want us thrashing their boats around willy-nilly. Last year we had some pretty rough water here for these guys, and one of the boats, disintegrated. Complete front end come off. The rescue boats had to basically tow it in, which also was stopping it from sinking. They had water pumps pumping it out, also stopping it from sinking. So it was a bit of a challenge there to get him all hooked up and out to save their engines and props, and I believe that boat's been resurrected. We had a lot of fun in the Top Fuel Motorcycle series the previous year. Picked up the Australian Championship for the Andrews Series. Being a racer, I know what it's like trying to get sponsorship, so happy to help these guys out, lifting them in and out. Basically donate the crane and our time to do it. And it brings fabulous sport to Mackay and lets everyone come out and enjoy it.
Plenty of action in race number 1, and here we are, race number 2. Great news is that the Mega Bulk Fuels with Brendan and Chris Fryer have got their boat going again, and there was a little bit of damage done to the Maritimo 12. They've done some fiberglass work in the pits in between races as well. The Fryer boys had a steering issue. It looks as though one of the hoses on the rudder of that boat actually got damaged, and they did have a steering issue. So here we go. We're about to get going for race number 2, waiting the flag to drop, and it has dropped. You can hear the acceleration go, and everybody away. Not a great start for the 222. You can see they're out the back door just a little bit there with the Willerton boys on their inside in the Maritimo 11 machine. And this boat's a little bit different to all the other boats in the field. It's running the Mercury number 6 stern drive power out the back of this particular boat. It's actually set up to run in the American World Series in Key West. On board now, Brett Lerman and Carl Wall in the Team Australia 2, and it is getting tight. It is getting very tight into turn number 1, and you can see the spray off the deck. deck. Here's a couple of guys as they get chased by the chopper that have absolutely got the bit between their teeth. We spoke to them between races and they weren't that excited about the damage that was done, and they want to get up and about, and this boat is absolutely, literally flying down the back straightaway at the moment, and the Mega Bulk Fuels, they've got the bit between their teeth. It's their hometown. They want to do well here. Race number 1 didn't go to plan for them. They were right up the front of the pack, but that damaged steering caused them a problem. Now they've fixed that, and it looks as though they are really charging hard. This boat looks beautifully balanced at the moment. You can see just as it's jumping, it's quite messy water. In fact, we should talk about that as we go on board now with Maritimo Australia. Andrew and Ross Wilton, the father and son combination, and you don't need to be a brain surgeon to work out. Oh, big jump there. The conditions have deteriorated here at round number 1 of the Australian Offshore Superboat Championships at Mackay for High-Tech Oils, and it is tight and close and wet, and I don't know what you do when you're in that situation because you can't see where you're going. In fact, they've gone up the inside of a turn buoy. That's Maritimo 11, and that was into turn number 2. So they've missed that turn buoy. They've got a hose off, and you could see from the spray on the windscreen, they had literally could not see where they were going. So they're going to have to round and pick up that turn buoy and get going, and that's really disappointing for them. The 222 and the Team Australia, they go on their merry way. I don't want to be in the judges' tower after this one, ladies and gentlemen, because I think there might be some words spoken. Lerman and Wall now as they push hard in the Team Australia too. Haven't they had an amazing first round, running side by side with these guys, Darren Nicholson and Peter Muddy McGrath in the Newcastle 222 racing machine. There's nothing in this. Both these boats very, very similar. They're both Maritimo hulls. They're both running the same horsepower. One of them with the engines built by the Maritimo, which is obviously the Team Australia boat, and the Newcastle boat, they are running the Johnny Barbagallo engines that a lot of our fans and watchers will know from the drag racing fame, and he's done a fantastic job with this boat as well. So this is a real test of engine builders and of manufacturers and of setup at the moment. Muddy McGrath and Nicholson taking some big flies. Wall and Lerman also flying high. So absolutely no holds barred here at the moment in race number 2 at round number 1 of the High-Tech Oils Australian Offshore Superboat Championships. Down through the bottom turn, and the conditions getting tough. Darren Nicholson and Peter McGrath, we go on board with these guys now and have a look at the water just coming down through the hatch in that boat now. They've been copping some big hose-offs in the corners, but they are absolutely throwing everything at it at the moment. Maritimo 11, so the Willerton boys, they get up and going again. Their teammates go round the outside of them at the moment, or running on the outside of them in the Maritimo 12 boat. So the 2 Maritimo boats at the moment just battling for pace, because it looks as though Tom Barry-Cotter and Stevie Jellick not pushing as hard as we saw them in race number 1. And then we go on board with the 2 Willertons, and they have a boat that is not handling to their liking at the moment. I spoke to the guys in the pits, and they are not really wrapped with the setup on the boat at the moment, so they're just trying to get some points in the bag. Look at the hose off coming 222's way. Nicholson and McGrath, that'll be coming from the Team Australia boat. This is absolute gunnel-to-gunnel stuff between these two teams, and fabulous racing. The crowd is absolutely on its feet here at round number 1 of the High-Tech Oils Australian Offshore Superboat Championships. Round number 1, race number 2, the 2 Maritimos going around now, and it actually looks like the Maritimo 11 has got perhaps a little bit more pace over these guys, Tom Barry-Cotter and Steve Jellick. Now, we saw some damage on this particular boat in the pits between races, and you can actually still see there's some damage on the starboard front sponson of that boat. In fact, as the chopper just pans in, you can also see the port inside front sponson has had repairs to it as well. So this boat has got band-aids all over it at the moment, and it wouldn't surprise me if they're just trying to conserve the equipment and not break this boat in race number 2. As you can see, conditions have deteriorated quite badly, and the boats are really copping a beating out there. And given that they've got a boat that's only had a temporary repair done to it, they might just be trying to bring this boat home safe, I would suggest. The 2 Willertons, Ross Willerton, one of the greatest throttle men in the world, not just Australia, doing a fantastic job just getting this boat around. And we know that this boat isn't behaving or performing the way that these guys want it to. So given that they're running a pretty solid race at the moment, the rougher conditions are probably suiting them a little bit. The boat handling issues seem to get a little bit more negated when the water gets rough like this. So Wilton working hard on the throttles, backwards and forwards. That's Ross, and then Andrew doing the piloting. And let's go to the replay now for Hi-Tech Oils. This is this big hit that they took and then the hose off and half a hook. Let's just watch this one here. And you can see and you can actually hear the boat, and in fact look at that. So this is another angle. This is from the 222 and you can see the guys just getting the hose off. What the boat did there was it actually grabbed, and you could actually hear the engines revving. So it was Ross Willerton just hammering that throttle down, trying to pick it up and get it going. So this is how tight the racing has now become in this particular category with the parity on board these engines now with the 750 horsepower engines. These boats are really gathered together and bunched up and coming in tight and hard into these corners. Boat out in front now is the Mega Bulk Fuels, which is the two Fryer boys, Brendan and Chris, hometown heroes. They're out in front. Didn't do well in race number one, but they're trying to get it done now. The action continues here as we go to a break. We'll be back with more racing in just a moment. Welcome back to round number one, race number two of the Hi-Tech Oils Australian Offshore Superboat Championships. This race being brought to you by Crane Logistics, and we are on board with the Phantom, Mick Walker and Ian Harris. Look at those big 3.2 litre Mercury strokers on the back of this little 25-foot shifty catamaran. The conditions have deteriorated a little bit here, and we saw them win race number one, but they've got a real challenge now that's come from the Mancini Cosmetics, which is actually out in front of that particular category at the moment. These guys have been pushing hard. They've been battered pillar to post. Andrew and Ross Willerton, we saw a half a spin out for those guys and having to go back and get another buoy. And they are running in fourth spot at the moment, trying to make up some ground in these tough and rough conditions in a boat that's really not playing the game for them. You can see Ross Willerton, he's been having to trim that boat up really high to try and get acceleration out of the corner. So he's trimming the drives up out of the water and trying to break the propellers free. What's happened here? Tom Barry Cotter and Steve Jellick, they've come to a stop, and that is disappointing. This boat has absolutely been battered and bruised and had repairs done to it. Let's hope they can get going. It looks like Tom running down the deck there. Steve, the throttle man, just watching him there. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, and not sure what's happened to the Maritimo 12 at the moment. No such problems for this team though, the Fryer boys, as they continue on, and you can see the big hits that they're taking as well. You see the rev limit light coming on as the boat jumps out of the water, and you see those big swells rolling through there now as well. Big tugboat in the background as well. That'd be throwing up its own wash, but these guys, they want to do well here. Hometown favourites, hometown crowd, and at the moment they're getting the job done very, very nicely in the Mega Fuels. So it looks like these guys just climbing back in. Let's see if we can listen in a little bit here. So not much being said. They obviously know what's on and about. Isherwood and Price now in the Mancini Cosmetics, the beautiful Mancini 29 racing machine. They're out in front very, very comfortably in this race. And this is what we spoke about earlier on with the conditions changing and different boats suiting different conditions. The Phantom in race number one, super smooth conditions, super fast little boat, rocketed away. Now the conditions have got tough and the bigger boat comes in. The waterline length coming into play there. And of course Simon Isherwood, one of the best throttle men going around in the world, and he is a very, very experienced campaigner. You can see him there sitting on the left-hand side or the port side, and Brent Price, the pilot, on the right hand or starboard side. He's the owner of the boat, and he absolutely enjoys his powerboat racing here at Mackay for round number 1 of the Hi-Tech Oils Australian Offshore Superboat Championships. On board with the mega bulk fuels as they come around the outside of the Mancini. And we did get word that in the previous race, we thought there might have been a little coming together between the Mega Bulk Fuels and the Mancini, and we can confirm that the Mega Bulk Fuels, trying to stuff it up the inside of the Mancini, just collected the port rear quarter of the Mancini boat, and they've had to do a big tape job on that boat. Only cosmetic, but unfortunate, because that boat has had a massive rebuild over the off-season. They had last season off, they've widened the boat, they've moved the cockpit in that boat, and it is a super quick boat. Now it's got a little bit of bark off after that coming together, but they're up and about, they're racing, they're leading, and so too are the Fryer boys. On board now, the Newcastle 222, Darren Nicholson, the man about town in Newcastle, with one of the most famous offshore throttle men in the world, Peter Muddy McGrath, and they are pushing away in good position at the moment. They're running in 3rd spot, and just running very consistent at the moment. As we look at the top turn now, beautiful day here at Mackay, and the crowd has absolutely come out in droves to watch these magnificent Australian offshore superboats. Brendan and Chris Fryer, they're out in front. They'll be listening for every little noise in this boat now. Let's listen to those big V8s as they charge away. Johnny Barbagallo, the engine builder for the Fryer boys as well, and he's obviously done a fantastic job on this particular boat. They're out in front, and that's where they want to stay. You can see that boat flying beautifully, and you can see that wing in the tunnel that I spoke about earlier on in the show that can actually be altered. It can be opened and closed. And what that does is it traps air up the tunnel. So when they want to go fast, they'll trap plenty of air up into that tunnel. They'll close that flap. In these rougher conditions, they may open it up a little bit. In fact, you can see a little bit of daylight through. So I can tell you now that that flap is in fact open. So what they're trying to do is spill air out through the tunnel and get that boat to be settled on the water so it doesn't jump too much when they're hitting this rough water. And they're doing a great job at the moment. Another couple of guys doing a great job, Brett Lerman and Carl Wall. This boat, brand new to the team. It is the former Mustang boat out of the Maritimo stable, and it is doing an absolutely storming job. Boat number 8 doing it for Lockie, Carl Wall and Brett Lerman. Tracking beautifully, and I think doing an awesome job for a couple of guys that have really only just put this arrangement together. Brett does run a couple of powerboat racing teams internationally as well, and it's great to have him back here in Australia and competing hard at the moment. The Newcastle 222 just running beautifully, isn't it? McGrath, the absolute consummate professional. You can see big Peter Muddy McGrath, the Kiwi there on the left-hand side of your screen, and the owner of the boat, Darren Nicholson, doing piloting duties. Darren, of course, a very accomplished offshore sailor in his own right in a former life, and now he's taken to burning up some of that good petrol and running in the Offshore Superboat Championships. The two Willetons, well, they've had a really tough weekend so far, but they've kept their nose out of trouble a little bit because there's plenty of other teams around that have had a lot more damage than them, and even though they're running a boat that they're not 100% happy with, they're getting the job done just nicely out there at the moment. Team Australia just rounds up Michael and Griff Ethel in the beautifully prepared 88 Gold Coast City Marina. They're having a nice run. They're just running in 3rd spot in the 600 horsepower Supercat Outboard category at the moment. On board now again with Wall and Lerman. See the boat looking very stable on the water. Even when it jumps, it's looking quite tidy, and no problems to speak of in that Team Australia crew at the moment. No problems here either. Brendan and Chris Fryer, couple of good blokes, couple of better blokes you won't meet on the offshore circuit as they go around in the Mega Bulk Fuels entry. New livery for this Team Navy entry, and these guys doing an awesome job at the moment. And the guys we were just talking about, the Gold Coast City Marina, Michael and Griff Ethel running in the Supercat outboard category. This is really tough water conditions as we just see the Phantom go through. So you've got second and third that you can see there, and these guys really starting to get punished by this big water in the small boat. We go on board now with Michael and Griff. So Griff, the father, he's on the throttles there. He's on the right-hand side of your screen. And Michael with the wheel in his hand, doing a great job. And he is on your left of screen. These boats, as you can see, you have a throttle man and a pilot. So the throttle man actually adjusts the trim of the engines, and when the boat jumps out of the water like that, what you want to do is stop the, because the propellers break free of the water, you want to stop the engines over revving. So the throttle man has to pull off the throttles when you jump out of the water and then back onto the throttles when the boat re-enters. If you don't get back on the throttles when the boat re-enters, the propellers are going slower than the boat. That means the boat will trip up. It actually stuffs the nose of the boat into the next wave. So the throttle man, it's a real timing and balancing act, and it is a real skill. Brendan and Chris Fry doing the same as well. They're out in front and looking pretty solid at the moment. Hopefully that steering issue is all sorted for them at the moment. It looks like it's okay. And just have a look at the rev limit lights as they both flash up. Two engines in these boats, of course. Big block V8s running carburetors, making around about 750 to about 780 horsepower in this configuration at the moment as they go down the back chute, get chased by the choppers. The Fryer boys, doesn't look like much can stop them at the moment. Let's hope they can continue on and be reliable. And down through the bottom turn now, and we look across to the port side, and we are looking for the Hog's Breath finish boat and a finish flag. And I tell you what, there's going to be a party in Mackay tonight because Brendan and Chris Fryer pick up the checkered flag and take the win in race number 2, and they are absolutely ecstatic. They came here in front of their home crowd. They wanted to get the job done, and they've certainly done that. Team Australia up into second spot, Brett Lerman and Carl Wall. They'll be absolutely ecstatic with this. Only their second race in the boat together, and they have an absolutely fantastic weekend here at Mackay. Nicholson and McGrath, they come through and pick up the checkered flag as well in the 222. That's a third place for them. I think they'll be fairly comfortable with that. That's good points in the bag for the team 222 Offshore. And your race winner in the Supercat Outboard, it's Brent Price and Simon Isherwood in the Mancini Cosmetics Boat 29, and they get the job done very, very nicely indeed. Back on board with the Fryer boys now, and there you go. You've got Mr. Paul Gibbs, our official starter and finisher in the Hog's Breath Offshore Racing. So, results for race number 2. In first place in the Supercat Extreme was the Mega Bulk Fuels. Back into second place, Team Australia. Into third, the 222 Offshore. In the Supercat Outboard category, a big win for Mancini Racing. Back to second place, the Phantom. And into third, the Team 88 Gold Coast City Marina.
There's a lot harder water in race 2. The wind obviously picked up, and I think everyone probably seen that, and the old body and boats copped a bit of a pounding, and yeah, we finally got our nose out in front again and held it all the way through. It was good. I think we've got a bit of TLC, the boat. I mean, the engines and that are great, but the boat sustained a bit of damage in that first race, you know, and so we're a little bit nervous with the chop in the second one because we've cracked a bulkhead on the side. So, I mean, we've got some work to do. We've only got a week before Bowen, mate, and so, yeah, I'm sure we'll put something together and try bring it home there as well.
Boat ran pretty well. Instrumentation, oil pressures, all that, all covered. So, yeah, I guess I've either got to get a bit braver and get a bit more serious now.
Conditions got pretty dramatically worse very fast. We had a pretty good start. Yeah, we're a pretty good contender to win as well. Like the shifty cats are very good in the flat water, whereas the Doug Wright is just fantastic in the rough. And once the race got going, we just pulled away and really managed the race, the whole race until we won it.
We're really pleased to come away from the Mackay weekend on equal points with Mancini Racing, and we sort of realised that after going through the breakwater it was going to be a pretty rough race, so with Bowen being 1 week away we thought we'd nurse the boat and bring it home.
We are ecstatic with our weekend. The little shifty cat performed just perfectly. Engines ran well, we had very good propeller choice. The other boats in our class are certainly a bit faster than us, but only 1 or 2 mile an hour that we showed in the first race. but being a little bit light and a little bit small in the second race, it certainly showed.
With round number 1 done and dusted, let's have a look at the point standings. In Supercat Extreme, it's the Fryer Boys, Mega Bog Fuel sitting on top of the table. Then it's back to Team Australia and then Maritimo 12 into 3rd spot. In the Supercat Outboard category, Mancini Cosmetics, back to the Phantom, back to Gold Coast City Marina. And in the overall points table for the Oz1 Championships, Team 222 sitting atop of the table there, back to Team Australia and Maritimo 12. Well, if this is any indication on what the season's going to go like, folks, we'll really look forward to seeing you at round number 2 in Bowen.